You think you're in control, don't you? You believe that the decisions you make, the thoughts you think, the emotions you feel, all of this is a result of your conscious will, your reason. But what if I told you that this is precisely the illusion that is destroying your life? That this you who thinks they are in command is just a mask? And behind it there is something much deeper, neglected and hungry for attention. I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to confront you, because if you're watching this video, it's because on some level, you feel something is out of place. No matter how much you try to keep up appearances, no matter how much you tell yourself that everything is fine, you live tired, anxious, trapped in repetitive cycles that you don't understand. Maybe you are too hard on yourself. Maybe you live seeking approval. Maybe you have everything that others think is success but still feel empty. Do you know why? Because the ego, this fragile construct you call I, is in control, and it is dragging you away from your essence. Robert Greene's understanding of human nature does not treat the ego as an enemy, but as a limited part of your psychological makeup that often believes it is greater than it really is. And when you believe that the ego is all that you are, you enter an invisible prison. You start to live for an image, a persona, a character created to survive the expectations of others. And in this process, you disconnect from your deeper nature, from your truth, from your hidden motivations, from everything that would truly make you whole. You begin to adapt, to control, to manipulate, and you call this maturity. But what you are really doing is avoiding confrontation with who you really are. And do you know what the consequence of this is? Superficial relationships, self-sabotage, existential crises, a constant fear of failing, of being rejected, of not being good enough. All of this is a symptom of an inflated ego and, at the same time, one that is frighteningly fragile. But today, I want to show you what Robert Greene's understanding of human nature reveals behind this illusory structure. In this video, we will perform an autopsy of the ego. We will tear apart this layer of lies you have been telling yourself. And in the end, maybe, just maybe, you will begin to understand who you really are. Are you ready for this? Because what comes next will not be comfortable, but it could change your life. Before anything else, we need to clearly understand what we are facing. The ego, in Robert Greene's view of human nature, is not the villain, but it is also far from being a hero. It is, in fact, the center of your conscious identity, the reference point by which you say, I am. But here's the problem. The ego believes it is everything. And when you believe that too, you limit your existence to what is visible, controllable, and safe. The ego is the part of the mind that constructs your social identity. It chooses what to show the world, what to hide, what is acceptable to feel or desire. It edits your story, manipulates your memories, distorts your emotions, all to maintain a coherent narrative. But this coherence comes at a very high cost. You need to amputate parts of yourself to fit into the idealized image that the ego has constructed. Since childhood, you've been taught to mold yourself, to repress anger, sadness, envy, fear, to smile when you wanted to cry, to obey when you wanted to scream, to be who they expected you to be, even if that meant betraying who you really were. And who was in charge of this process? The ego. It was created to protect you from pain, rejection, and shame. But along the way, it forgot that it was just a messenger and began to behave like the king. Robert Greene's study of human nature makes it clear that the conscious ego is only a small part of the vast psychological forces operating within you, a tiny fraction of your total nature, and yet it is the one that decides what is right or wrong in you. It is the one that judges, compares, separates, and clings to labels like I am this way or that is not for me. But none of this is true. This is just conditioning. The ego lies, and it does so all the time. It says you are independent but lives for approval. It says you are rational but fears being exposed. It says you are strong but cannot bear criticism. It says you are unique but spends the days trying to fit in. And the cruelest part, it convinces you that all of this is freedom. You start to confuse personality with your deeper nature. You begin to think that your automatic reactions are your nature. But the ego is not your true self. It's just a mechanism, useful, yes, but deeply limited. When you confuse it with who you truly are, you enter an internal battle that never ends. And the more you identify with the ego, the more fear you feel. Fear of losing control, fear of making mistakes, fear of appearing weak, fear of not being enough, fear of not being loved. And this fear is precisely what keeps the ego on the throne. But there is something even deeper. Because the ego, to maintain its power, needs to constantly protect itself. And how does it do that? This is where the masks you wear and your hidden repressed side come in. In the next part, we will explore how the ego creates masks to survive, and how these masks are suffocating your authenticity. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. You're not who you think you are, at least not entirely. Most of your identity has been built as a shield, a role you learn to play in order to survive emotionally, socially, psychologically. This role has a name, the persona. In Robert Greene's understanding of human nature, it is the social mask we wear for the world. It is the face of the ego, what you show to be accepted, admired, loved. And let's face it, we all wear masks. From an early age, you learned that certain parts of yourself were inconvenient, that expressing anger was wrong, that feeling envy was ugly, that crying was a weakness, that wanting too much was selfish. So you began to hide all of that, to silence, to filter, to repress. The persona was born from fear, fear of being rejected, fear of not belonging, fear of not being enough. And the ego, trying to protect you, created an edited version of who you are, more acceptable, more presentable, more socially functional. You became someone nice, polite, controlled. But you also became someone incomplete, artificial, trapped in patterns that no longer make sense. The problem is that the more you identify with this mask, the further you distance yourself from your deeper nature. And this disconnection comes at a price: anxiety, emotional exhaustion, a constant feeling of inadequacy. You try to appear strong but feel fragile. You try to show control but live in internal chaos. On the outside, everything seems under control. On the inside, a muffled scream. And you know what's worse? You don't do this consciously. You believe that this mask is who you really are. And then the ego fulfills its most insidious function, not only hiding your wounds, but convincing you that they don't even exist. You become a stranger to yourself. You live acting, trying to please, trying to fit in, and with each passing day you feel further away from something you can't even name but miss. Robert Greene's study of human nature reveals that everything you consciously reject does not simply disappear. It is merely pushed beneath the surface, into the hidden parts of your psychology. And there, in the darkness of your nature, your hidden side begins to form. Everything you deny, suppress, and pretend not to feel. All the thoughts, impulses, desires, and fears that do not fit the idealized image of the ego end up there. And while you strive to keep your mask intact, this hidden side grows silently and dangerously. And this is where things start to get really serious. Because what you reject controls you. What you ignore dominates you. In the next part, we will talk about the silent and often devastating signs that the ego is ruining your life and you don't even realize it. You think you are living your life consciously, but in reality you are being driven by impulses you don't understand, reactions you can't control, and decisions that seem like yours but aren't. The ego, when not observed, begins to steer your existence like an autopilot disguised as free will. It creates perfect justifications for self-destructive choices, disguises insecurities as strength, and transforms fear into arrogance. And you accept it, thinking this is normal, but it's not. Want to know if the ego is destroying your life? Observe your patterns. Do you constantly seek approval? Do you need others to recognize what you do? How hard you work? How much you endure? This is not strength, it's disguised emotional dependence. The ego desperately needs to be validated because without recognition it feels threatened. It's as if without applause, your existence loses meaning. Do you find yourself comparing? Do you feel envy when you see someone better, more attractive, more successful? Or do you feel relief when you see someone worse than you? This is not ambition, it's masked insecurity. The ego measures your worth based on others, because it doesn't know another way to assert itself. It doesn't seek evolution, it seeks superiority. Are you afraid of making mistakes? Do you freeze when you need to make decisions? Do you get stuck between 1,000 possibilities, but never choose any? This is not prudence. It's the ego terrified of appearing weak, flawed, or ridiculous. The ego needs to be perfect because any failure is interpreted as a threat to its image. Do you feel you need to always be right? That you need to have the last word, prove your point, win the argument? This is not logic. It's the ego trying to protect the illusion of control. When someone challenges your ideas, the ego interprets it as an attack on your identity. It would rather lose relationships than lose the argument. Do you self-sabotage, refuse opportunities, push people away, delay important decisions? This is not bad luck. It's the ego afraid of the unknown because growing, changing, transforming requires you to let go of the certainties the ego has built. And it prefers a familiar hell to an uncertain paradise. These are just a few signs. There are many others: superficial relationships, an inability to ask for help, unresolved resentments, a vague sadness that has no apparent cause. All of this is the ego in action, silently sabotaging your peace, your self-love, and your freedom. And the more you feed this system, the further you drift from your deeper nature. You become a prisoner of a false version of yourself. But here's the most painful truth. The ego has no interest in your happiness. It wants control, and for that it will keep you trapped, dissatisfied, and afraid as long as it remains in charge. Now that you have recognized the signs, an inevitable question arises. Why is it so hard to change? Why, even knowing that something is wrong, do you continue to self-sabotage, repeat patterns, and run away from yourself? The answer lies in the deep fear the ego has of transformation. And that is exactly what we will explore in the next part. Change hurts. Growing requires courage. But what few realize is that the greatest resistance to transformation does not come from the external world. It comes from within. It comes from the ego. And here's the truth that almost no one wants to admit. You are not stuck because you lack strength. You are stuck because there is a part of you that does not want to change. That part is your ego. The ego hates change. And not because it is lazy or stupid, but because it was created to protect you from pain. The problem is that it does this in the most primitive way possible, by avoiding anything that threatens the identity structure it has built, even if that identity is suffocating you. You see, the ego sustains itself on certainties. It needs to believe it knows who you are, how the world works, what to expect from people. It constructs narratives, stories, explanations, many of them false, just to keep everything under control. And when you start to question these truths, the ego panics, because changing means admitting that perhaps you have lived a lie, that perhaps much of what you believe to be you was just adaptation. It was just survival. Robert Greene's work on human nature reflects this process deeply. Transformation requires you to confront the parts of yourself that you have avoided and to recognize that the identity you have built may not be the whole of who you are. And this does not happen smoothly. It is a collapse, a direct confrontation with your hidden side, with everything you have rejected, denied, or buried within yourself. That's why so many people flee from self-knowledge, because knowing oneself is not a peaceful stroll through illuminated landscapes. It's a descent into the underground. It's facing chaos. And the ego knows this. It knows that if you truly delve deep, if you look at yourself with brutal honesty, it will lose control. That's why it sabotages. It creates distractions, dramas, rationalizations, resistances. It says it's not the right time. You're not ready. This is nonsense. It prefers that you remain unhappy but predictable rather than risk discovering who you really are. The fear of change is, in fact, the fear of the death of the ego. Because for the new to be born, The old must die. And the ego fears this process like a cornered animal. It will do anything to keep you tied to the old version of yourself, even if that version is killing you inside. But here's the secret. The ego only has power as long as you believe it is you. The moment you start to observe it, to question it, to dismantle its narratives, something greater awakens within you. Something deeper, more authentic, more free. It is this deeper center within you that allows all parts of your nature to be understood and integrated. But to get there, you need to traverse the chaos. You need to descend to the foundation, break with the illusions, confront what has been repressed. In the next part, we will talk exactly about this, how to break free from this prison and begin the path of integration. The ego will resist, but if you have courage, you may for the first time taste real freedom. Now that you have seen the prison, the inevitable question is how to escape, how to stop being a hostage to a fragile, controlling and fearful ego. The answer is not to destroy it, but to place it in its rightful place. The ego should not be eliminated. It should be integrated. For Robert Greene, this is the deeper goal of mastering human nature, to become a more complete human being. But do not be deluded. This path requires more than reading and reflection. It demands a direct confrontation with what you have avoided your entire life. Because everything you have suppressed, your wounds, your unresolved emotions, is alive within you. They have merely been pushed beneath the surface, where they act as invisible forces. And as long as you do not bring them to light, you will continue to live on autopilot, repeating patterns you do not understand, sabotaging your own steps. The first move is brutally honest self-questioning. Stop hiding behind justifications. Ask yourself, who am I without the roles I play? Who are you when no one is watching? Who are you without the filters, without the masks, without the need to please or defend yourself? This is the beginning of the deconstruction of the ego. It will resist. It will call you weak. It will say you are exaggerating, that you do not need this. But keep going. Because this discomfort is the symptom that something real is moving within you. Then comes the work with your hidden side. And no, this is not something spiritualized or overly symbolic. This is deep psychology. It is recognizing that you feel anger, envy, jealousy, pride, neediness, vanity, everything you have been conditioned to repress. And here is the key point. Your hidden side is not your enemy. It is a part of you that has been abandoned. And everything that is rejected eventually takes revenge in the form of uncontrolled impulses, self-destructive behaviors, and invisible sabotages. You need to learn to dialogue with this hidden side, to embrace it without judgment, to listen to what it wants to say. It is the portal to your vital energy, your creativity, your emotional truth. Ignoring it is the same as living with half a self. Robert Greene's approach to human nature repeatedly points toward the importance of confronting what we would rather not see in ourselves, because only through that awareness can we begin to integrate the conflicting parts of our nature. When you stop trying to be good and start being whole, when you embrace not only the light but also the darkness, something new is born, a deeper center than the ego, wiser, quieter, an inner presence that does not need approval, comparison or control because it simply is, and that's enough. But how to cultivate this connection? The path is not external. It is not found in ready-made formulas or miraculous gurus. It is in silence, in self-study, in therapy, in honest writing, in observing your own dreams. It is in the courage to dive into yourself without guarantees that you will come out unscathed, because you won't. But what will be destroyed is not you. It is the illusion of who you thought you were. And as you traverse this journey, you begin to see the ego as it truly is, a servant, not a master, a tool, not an identity. You put it in the back seat, and for the first time, it is your deeper nature that guides, no longer your insecurity. But before concluding, there is something that still needs to be said. Because even after all this process of awareness, many fall back into the trap of the ego. Do you know why? Because they forget that the ego is cunning. It disguises itself even as spirituality. And that is what we will talk about in the last part. How to keep the ego in its rightful place and how to transform your relationship with it forever. We have reached the most important point of this journey, understanding that the ego does not need to be destroyed. It just needs to be put in its place. The ego is not the absolute villain of your story. It is merely a character that took on the leading role out of fear of disappearing. But you were not made to live under the command of fear. You were made to live in alignment with your deeper nature. The ego is necessary. It organizes your identity, helps you function in the world, and protects you from real dangers. But it cannot be the leader. When the ego leads, your life becomes a theater. Your relationships turn into transactions. Your emotions become symptoms. Your mind becomes a prison, and the worst part, you start to confuse survival with fulfillment. But when the ego is relegated to the role of servant, when you stop following it blindly and begin to observe its maneuvers with clarity, something new happens. You stop reacting. You start responding. You begin to choose. You start to create. Emotional chaos transforms into clarity. The pain does not disappear, but it stops dominating you. The need to please, to win, to prove, simply loses its meaning. You begin to act from a different center, quieter, deeper, more true. It is the deeper self taking the helm. And when that happens, you no longer need to pretend to be someone because you are. But be careful, the ego does not vanish. It does not die, it adapts. It will try to hide behind new masks. Spirituality, intellectuality, authenticity, performance. It will want to convince you that now you are enlightened, that you have understood everything, that you no longer need to question yourself. Be wary of that. Whenever you think you have arrived, ask yourself, who is speaking now? Is it your deeper nature, or is it the ego in a new disguise? The work of integration is ongoing. There is no final point. There is no arriving. There is presence. There is internal vigilance. There is humility to keep descending even when the whole world is trying to pull you back to the surface. And if you have made it this far, it is because you are ready for this. Ready to stop living on autopilot. Ready to face discomfort as a portal for growth. Ready to place the ego where it should be, in service of your deeper nature. Now tell me, what have you discovered about yourself throughout this video? Which part resonated the most? Leave a comment below. This is not just about engagement. It is about making conscious what you felt. Writing is a way to integrate. And don't forget, if this made sense to you, keep watching the next video. It is just as important as this one. The journey does not end here. In fact, it is just beginning.